Part 86. I felt a humiliation of being underestimated from my lover. We continue the Cold War. Rushing out to Adjutant's son. Xuan Huaifeng returned to the small courtyard and sat silently in the room with the thin file bag by his hand. The house is very deserted. Here, Bai Xuelan has not been here for many days. The wind blows from the window, blowing over the screen, the wooden table, and the silk sheets, and it raises a light dust-like smell of forgotten loneliness. Now, in this lonely taste, something else has been added, and they are mixed together, causing a slight bitterness in people's throats. Xuan Huaifeng only felt that his mind was a little confused. It wasn't the kind of chaos in which lightning and thunder broke in the gust of wind and rain, and the tree fell, and branches fell, but the bleak autumn wind, black hair like silk, accidentally sticking to the half-healed wound, the kind of chaos with a slight pain in the tangle. It was half sore, half itchy, half sour and half astringent, which was very disturbing. He put his hand on the file bag and patted it twice. Now, he understood where Bai Xuelan's anger came from, and presumably, Bai Xuelan thought that he had leaked the actions of the customs office to Lin Qijun. But, Bai Xuelan, I, Xuan Huaifeng, in your heart, is a villain who does not distinguish between public and private, and who leaks secrets for personal gain. Thinking of this, I felt a humiliation of being underestimated. Xuan Huaifeng stood up, poured himself a glass of cold-boiled water beside the cabinet, and drank slowly with a little grievance. The cold water slid down his throat with a pleasant freshness, as if he had filtered the misunderstood grievances, and his heart was clearer than before. He used this arrangement to recall every sentence he had with Lin Qijun that day. Did the encounter with Lin Qijun that day have any effect on the inspection the next day? Lin Qijun's shareholding contract with foreigners was signed in the morning? Signed at night? Before meeting him, or after? In front of Lin Qijun, did he show any clues and reminded Lin Qijun? Xuan Huaifeng recalled seriously, but the memory was very uncooperative. The harder he tried to remember it, the more blurred the picture became. He remembered 8 or 9 points of the conversation between the two, but Lin Qijun's expression at that time, Lin Qijun's tone, he couldn't remember. What impressed me the most was the finger that was cut by the fruit knife, and the blood dripped down, soiling Bai Yunfei's sheets. The white sheets were stained with blood, like plum blossoms blooming in the snow, very dazzling. Why is he so useless? It's only been so long, he can't remember? Xuan Huaifeng put his thumb on his temple and rubbed it vigorously, as if to squeeze all the memories out of his temple, and then he learned from Sherlock Holmes and found out the truth. However, he couldn't squeeze it. How did he know to remember it clearly? The episode in the hospital was unremarkable, and I didn't really remember it at the time. It's just a visit, just a few gossip with friends. Knowing that something like this would happen, Xuan Huaifeng would take everything seriously, say a word, make an expression, and be very careful, and would pay close attention to Lin Qijun's every move. However, he did not know that the customs office would take action against Daxin Yangxing trade the next day. However, every minute spent with Lin Qijun was not as vivid as with Bai Xuelan. So it made people concentrate and never forget it. Lin Qijun and Bai Xuelan are different. Lin Qijun is gentle and vague. Bai Xuelan is such a bastard. A living, loving, hateful bastard. Being with him is like living with ice and fire. You will never be bored and yawn. There are always emotions, always happy, angry, sad, helpless, happy, excited. Xuan Huaifeng wants to recall Lin Qijun's life in the hospital. Every word and deed, often think of what happened after leaving the hospital. For example, he returned to the mansion and talked to Bai Xuelan in the study. Bai Xuelan said that he would beat someone because the chief was left behind by his subordinates all day. For example, knowing that he hadn't eaten, Bai Xuelan started biting with itchy teeth. For example, Bai Xuelan suddenly turned his face, pulled him to the bathroom viciously, and wiped his body with a hot towel. For example, the fragrant pear he had bitten in half and Bai Xuelan insisted on eating. Xuan Huaifeng took a deep breath and stopped thinking about it. He knew that he was a little excited. Exciting is useless. This makes his heart boil, but hides in the corner like an ostrich. What is the point of calculating the right and wrong? It only makes people laugh at it. Then, did Lin Qijun get a hint from himself, so he was vigilant and thus prepared? Xuan Huaifeng shook his head, trying so hard to escape this question that he couldn't answer himself, so upset. Probably as Adjutant Sun said, the world is not a mathematical formula. And there may not be clear answers. But he really wished that this was a mathematical formula. If it was a formula, he would have to solve it even if he had been at the desk for 3 years. It's just Bai Xuelan's side, what should I do? He was very angry. He scolds those ugly, hurtful words. He fought this Cold War for an unprecedentedly long and firm manner. Xuan Huaifeng suddenly felt a little suffocated, and he couldn't stay in this room anymore. He stood up, pushed open the door, and a summer breeze came in front of him with the fragrance of flowers. Blowing up the spirits. Very good. Nice wind. Facing the beautiful wind, Xuan Huaifeng walked out of the small courtyard and walked slowly along the quiet path covered with short grass on both sides. With his hands behind his back, a smile appeared on his face for some reason. If others see it, they must think that this handsome and free-spirited adjutant is taking a leisurely walk. Admiring the palace gardens of this summer with the tenderness and poetry of a young man. Who knew that his heart was pounding, dancing with the joy and pain of love? Struggling in the choice of stubbornness and active compromise? Those right and wrong, dictatorship and respect, trust and suspicion, are bright or dark soap balls, bustling, colliding and splashing. A chaotic and unsolvable mathematical problem. This chaos, this incomprehensible, may be the characteristics of the world of Bai Xuelan and his Xuan Huaifeng. Bai Xuelan was angry. Bai Xuelan scolded him. Bai Xuelan doubted him. Xuan Huaifeng seemed to be walking peacefully in the garden, pondering these things. He needs to take advantage of this beautiful scenery and let himself find a few parameters for this damn math problem. Others thought he was admiring the palace garden this summer, but he was not. When he saw the rockery, he thought of Bai Xuelan. He stepped on the small gravel road and thought of Bai Xuelan. He walked past the sun umbrellas and the small European-style open-air tables and chairs, and thought of Bai Xuelan. Looking at the lotus flowers in the pond that are still blooming and failing. He still can't help but think, Bai Xuelan. Bai Xuelan, Bai Xuelan. Xuan Huaifeng rubbed his temples with a headache, and read this cursed name, feeling very helpless. 12 points, Miss Sweet. How about being angry? How about scolding him? What about doubt? That person was originally a rogue, a bandit bully. It's never perfect, it can't be perfect at all. A gust of breeze blew from the lotus pond. The waves were sparkling, the lotus leaves floated gently on the water. Xuan Huaifeng suddenly smiled, turned and walked away. He was just wandering. Aimless. Now there is a goal. He went in the direction of Bai Xuelan's study. He had had enough of this Cold War. If the mountains didn't come, he had no choice but to go to the mountains. Walking down the corridor, he met Song Ren head-on. Song Ren hurriedly called out, "Adjutant Xuan." Xuan Huaifeng nodded. Song Ren looked at him, looked at the direction he was going, and seemed to understand a little, and asked in a low voice, "Going to find the chief?" Xuan Huaifeng asked, "Is he in the study?" Song Ren said, "I'm not calling. I don't know when the study is coming. However, as long as the chief hasn't gone out for a while, most of them stay in the study." Or, let me ask you? Xuan Huaifeng came with an open and honest heart of initiative and reconciliation. He didn't know why, thinking about facing Bai Xuelan, who hadn't seen each other for a long time. He felt a little timid in anticipation, blushed and smiled, and said, "All right," the sound of Amitabha. These two recently fought a silent battle, the smoke of gunpowder is everywhere. And it has affected many pawns. Now that this one has finally figured it out, once I meet that one and say a few good words, where is there any reason to continue fighting? That was all joy. He and Song Ren no longer need to be caught in the middle. Song Ren smiled and said, "I'll show you." He said it was him, but in fact Xuan Huaifeng also followed behind. The two went outside the study together. Song Ren knocked on the door carefully, and heard someone inside ask, "Which one?" Song Ren coughed and said loudly, "Report to the chief. Someone is asking to see you." Bai Xuelan asked, "Didn't I tell you, I won't be seeing guests today? No matter who it is, tell the person that I'm busy and can't entertain guests. There is really important business, and the General Administration of Customs will make an appointment with Adjutant Sun tomorrow." Song Ren turned his head to look at Xuan Huaifeng, as if he had a childish innocence occasionally. He laughed, turned his head, and said energetically to the inside, "The chief of the report is not an outsider, it's the adjutant Xuan asking for an interview." There was a sudden silence inside. Bai Xuelan asked, "Who?" Song Ren pushed open the door, took a step in, saluted, and said, "Chief, it's Adjutant Xuan who wants to see you." "Do you see it?" Hot, a little embarrassed, then his body flashed, standing in the shadow of the flower shelf. Listening to Bai Xuelan's answer inside. Another quiet. In this silence, Xuan Huaifeng seemed to be able to hear Bai Xuelan's repressed breathing. "I was wondering why Bai Xuelan didn't speak. When I suddenly heard the man inside grit his teeth, and asked bitterly and coldly, 'Adjutant Xuan. What's wrong with Adjutant Xuan seeing me?' Oh, I see, he's here to thank you. It's hard to do it. He's gone, and he actually went there in person. Why? You're afraid that you won't get mad at me?" Xuan Huaifeng was startled when he heard it, hearing Bai Xuelan sneer again and again. He should know that Xuan Huaifeng is just outside the door, so he spoke louder on purpose, and said to Song Ren, "Tell him, there is no need to meet, I know what he means. And there is no need for it. He came to the door to thank me. Now he wants freedom, freedom, human rights, and he is very happy, very happy. Please let him go and have fun. You also go out to me." Xuan Huaifeng came with the expectation of abandoning his previous hatred, and he was a little shy at first. Song Ren was also thrown out of the study in embarrassment. Also with a confused look on his face, facing Xuan Huaifeng, who was standing in the shadows, and staring at him for a while with big eyes and small eyes. After seeing Xuan Huaifeng's eyes clearly, Song Ren's face changed suddenly, shaking his hands desperately, and said in panic, "Adjutant Xuan, it's definitely not me. I never talked to the chief about what you said in the car." Xuan Huaifeng was tragic with a smile. He said softly, "Forget it, I don't blame anyone. Which part of the White Mansion is not his eyes and ears? Anyway, I offended him a lot this time." Biting his lower lip, he silently turned around and go. Song Ren called from behind. But he ignored him and went further and further away. Song Ren was in a hurry, turned around and knocked on the door of the study, and said loudly, "Chief. Chief. Adjutant Xuan is really gone this time." Bai Xuelan yelled through the door, "Let's go." He even knelt down and begged him to fail. In the future, he only cares about making fun of him. So I don't want this bastard to be black-faced. Even if he is happy, I will take advantage of his wishes. Song Ren was both respectful and awe-inspiring to this living ancestor. How dare he argue with him? Wrinkled standing outside the study, couldn't think of a way to do it. He held his head in both hands and scratched for a while. And simply turned around and went to the yard where the people living under his head lived. When we got there, I saw a few off-duty attendants standing under the eaves blowing air and chatting. The Lincoln driver, Xiao Li, was squatting on the steps with a bowl of noodles, snorting. Song Ren didn't hit him anywhere. He strode over and kicked Xiao Li, a dog gnawing at the mud. Bang! The noodle soup hit the ground with the porcelain bowl. Xiao Li turned over and asked, "Why beat people?" Song Ren said viciously, "Damn, it's you who is trying to sow discord. I'm telling you to talk too much." He rushed forward and gave Xiao Li a few slaps, both positive and negative, and asked, "Let your tongue grow. Let you talk nonsense. Who told you to be a pug in front of the chief?" Adjutant Xuan said what he said. "What did he do?" "Your mother's bullshit. What kind of secret are you suing?" Thinking of Xuan Huaifeng's suspicious look at him just now, it was like being forced to eat 8 or 10 flies. No show mercy. He was a murderous man who had fought in wars, and he was very strong. Xiao Li was a car driver. No matter where he was his opponent, he was beaten to the point of crying grandpa and grandma. A few servants saw that it was not the way, so they rushed up to persuade and beg him to drive him away, only to say, "Brother Song, you are a man of courage. Xiao Li offends you." And it is enough to enlighten him with 2 slaps in the face. He is small and capable. Can he hold back your Shandong fist? Take a breather. What did he do wrong? We'll help you scold him. Xiao Li's cheeks were swollen to the point of his fingers, his nose bled to the corners of his mouth, and he was very embarrassed. He grew old, stretched his neck and screamed, "The chief and adjutant Xuan are angry. Why are you beating me? I'm the only one who gets paid to eat." The chief wants to ask Adjutant Xuan what he said. "Can I not say it? You have hard fists, why don't you hit the chief? Go, pump your black legs in front of me, show your prestige. You are a motherfucker." Song Ren widened his eyes and threw his fists again. Everyone hurriedly stopped them and said to Xiao Li, "You can say a few words less." Begging for a beating. After talking for a while, Song Ren put down his fists and walked away angrily. The rest of Xiao Li scolded and limped to clean up the broken bowls and chopsticks on the ground, sighing to himself.